Good morning and welcome to yet another edition of The Burning Issue. This is the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue program here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio on 89.9 in Lusaka and the surrounding areas. We are also on our partner radio stations, and these are iWave FM radio on 90.1 FM based in Chingola but covering the rest of the Copper Belt. We are also live on Tuta FM on 90 of Mchinga province on 88.1 FM. Spice FM in the rest of Central Province on 91.1 FM and the rest of Central Province as well. And so Mazabuka is live, that is on Wave F 98.7 in Mazabuka, covering the rest of Southern Province. Again, is saying it's raining everywhere around the country, but I'm certain that it's pouring confusion and misfortune in once upon a time party. Things are happening so fast, as far as the divisions are concerned, with the recent development in Parliament, where the Speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Nelly Muti, announced a new leader of opposition. Other than that, we've also heard that the government has announced the withdrawal of the 60th President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa-Lungu's benefits and privileges due to a former Republican president. So today we are going to discuss many other issues arising to that, and obviously to how the governance of this country is, everything generally is concerned. I'm your host, Zakaria Banda. Now, my guest today, initially you heard the announcement that we will be hosting Honourable Brian Mundubile, Mporokoso Member of Parliament and Patriotic Front Member of the Central Committee. He is not alone. I must say that I have an addition of two more members of Parliament. I have the Member of Parliament for Nakonde in Honourable Lucas Simumba, and we will shortly be joined by Honourable Christopher Kangombe, Member of Parliament for Kamfisa constituency and the Patriotic Front National Youth Chairperson. For now, let me introduce my two guests who are already in the studio. Honourable Brian Mundubile, Mporokoso Member of Parliament and Patriotic Front Member of the Central Committee. Will I be right, Honourable, to add to your credentials as former leader of opposition in Parliament?
I'll answer your question in two ways. If you are referring to a leader of opposition elected in accordance with Article 74(2), I'm the leader of opposition who was elected in accordance with Article 74(2). But if you ask me whether I'm that leader of opposition recognized by Parliament through a sham process, through a questionable letter, I'm not that leader of opposition. Thank you.
And how have you been?
I've been well. Thanks. Of course, like every other Zambian, watching what is going on, highly disappointed with the performance of our government. But of course, for some of us, it's not a surprise. I think I featured here several times, and you must be thinking I predicted this failure, because we are part of the governance system and we knew that there was nowhere UPND was going. And I'm happy that now we're indemnified, because exactly what we predicted is what you're seeing now.
Great. Let me take this opportunity to welcome Honourable Lucas Simumba, Member of Parliament for Nakonde. First time in Parliament. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Is it so intimidating? Is this what you thought Parliament was all about?
Very different, because I used to admire Parliament very well. And I had to make sure that I had to put what it takes for me to be found in Parliament. But I can attest to you that what is happening now, you cannot even admire, as if somewhere that doesn't need my protection. So I'm worried if this is how really Parliament can be taken. I'm very worried because people won't be even admiring to come to Parliament.
Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
We will be joined, like I earlier said, by Honourable Christopher Kangombe, Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa and Patriotic Front National Youth Chairperson. Now, in my preamble, I did talk about the fact that it's pouring confusion and misfortune in the Patriotic Front. Just how do you make of this?
Well, Zach, I think what is important is to give some background to the PF as a party from the time that we lost elections.
Right.
The UPND predicted the demise of PF within 90 days. And President Hakainde Hichilema was very determined, to basically finish the PF within 90 days. So what transpired thereafter was that we had a lot of petitions in court.
Yes.
I was chairing a committee of elections petitions, and I can tell you that we had over 350 petitions, about 56 at MP level, 20-something at mayor and council chairperson level, and the rest were councillors. The idea there was to send us in disarray. Now, as a very organized party, we managed to put up a fight. We sent lawyers throughout the country. You can go to Mugubudu. If the tribunal was sitting there, we had a lawyer that was representing our councillor. So that was the first shot that the UPND took. 350 petitions. I think we only lost 2. Yeah, so along the way, they were predicting the demise of the PF. But to their surprise, they realized that we were growing from strength to strength. I know that you listen to parliamentary debates. The parliamentarians, our MPs have been up to speed. They control the flow of parliament amidst all the difficulties, the quality of the debates that come from there. So the UPND only had one option, to sponsor confusion within the Patriotic Front. So when you say it's raining confusion, it's raining confusion in the UPND government. And that confusion is now extending to other political parties. It's the first time in the history of this country that you come to Parliament, you find 300 policemen surrounding Parliament. Okay, you go to a PF secretariat, you find police. You go to a retreat, somebody's having a retreat. One of the members of the PF is having a retreat at Mulungushi. There's 200 police surrounding the retreat. And then the retreat changes its complexion, becomes a convention, and the president is elected. It's the first time. I want to show you the confusion that is reigning in the... So you can't now even have a meeting, because you're dealing with a government that is full of fear of the unknown. So Zambia can now be properly described as a police state. It's the presence of the police that you see. The new parliamentarians, including Honourable Mumba, was surprised yesterday that there were over 250 policemen around the parliament.
Do you know why? Did you find out why?
No, look, it's a police state. You understand? It's a police state.
But in this particular one, for parliament, are you able to share with us what police presence, heavy police presence?
We had police presence because parliamentarians were protesting on the floor of the House.
Okay.
And it's a right. It's their right to protest. Because one of the members, the rights of Honourable Christopher Kangombe were infringed, and the member decided to protest. So when Madam Nelly Moti, the same speaker, presiding officer, who infringed on the rights of Kangombe, tried to get him out of the House, we protested. We said Kangombe cannot go anywhere because Kangombe is just a Democrat who has expressed himself. Yeah, so now because this is a government that is afraid of its own image sometimes, they decided to call in police. Now we wondered why they called in the police because the honorable members were in the House, protesting in the House. Like I said, there's a total abuse of the police now. Anything you do, they will have to call the police to come. Look at what happened to Sean Temple. It's a police state, unless you don't see that.
I see all that.
Yeah.
But back to what you were analyzing, because you were giving us a background of
So if you look at, say, September 2021 and September 2023, you will agree with me that the PF has become very, very strong, extremely strong. This is the party that the UPND said had died, all right? So what you are seeing is a sponsored confusion. Within ourselves, we know what we want and we know what we are doing. So it's not pouring confusion at all. The confusion that you're seeing is just an overspill. It's confusion within the UPND. It's an overspill, other political parties like the Patriotic Front.
On several occasions, Honourable, you've stated how this government is becoming ungovernable. I mean, you have stated on several occasions that the governance of this country is being lost. Just share with us what you made reference to.
A government, Zach, is a structured system. Okay, you'll have a government divided into 3 organs of the state, which you are fully aware of.
Right.
And the design around that is that these organs provide a check on each other. Okay, such that the excesses of one organ are checked by another organ. And of those 2 organs, 2 are somewhat political, because you have politicians in the legislature and politicians in the executive.
Right.
But you have one enduring state institution, and that's the judiciary. So that normally, when there's mischief between the other 2 organs, the judiciary is there to correct and ensure that the state is protected. Because remember that the government in power does not own the state. The state remains alone. Okay, they can supervise, but the moment you have even the judiciary, okay, compromised, you have parliament compromised, not to talk about the executive, because they're the very ones that are compromising, then you have a total collapse of a government system. So in case you're seeing it from outside, what you have is a collapsed government system now. Zach, today, you will have no confidence to take a matter to court, okay? Because if just by your name or name of your political party or name of, the outcome is known. But the courts that we know, as a lawyer myself, we go to settle dispute. Courts are there to settle troubled cases. And the justice is only done, when the guilty party, for instance, is convicted and the innocent is freed. Okay, but now the system that you have, when you're claiming your rights, it really depends who you are. That's what will determine the kind of justice you're going to get out. And this is a conversation that we must have, Zach. Don't shy away from it. You must have that, because you're seeing that every day. We have a very bad example. What happened, what we thought was the beginning, we thought it was the first and last. The matter in the Kavushi and Kwacha by-election. I may not want to, just as an example. I think from there are many other rulings and judgments that are coming from court that are invoking a sense of shock in the minds of ordinary citizens. So the moment that happens, they're in trouble. You come to parliament, where I'm a member. I'm actually ashamed today that I'm a member of that type of parliament. Luckily for me, unlike my colleague, Simba, I was a member of parliament from 2016, 2021, when parliament was functioning properly. So I have an idea of what a parliament can be. The colleagues that have come now, unfortunately, have come to find not the parliament they expected, but the parliament that we have today. Yeah, so I think in sum, we are saying we have a collapsed governance system. There's nothing. You will not get anything out of the executive. Yeah, because if you go to the executive, all you find is that you have a government that is not worried about the plight of the poor. They're preoccupied with paying themselves compensation. They are literally looking for political cadres who were maybe arrested for committing offenses, because the police arrested them for some alleged offenses. And then they give them 6.4 million kwacha. That the people of Nakonde. At the end of 5 years, you won't even get half of that amount. A gentleman who was detained for 40, 30, whatever number of days should walk away 6.4. Why? You come to Parliament, for instance, we have a new leader of opposition. You ask her to say, oh, Madam Speaker, I received 2 letters. There was one from Honourable Nakachinda, letter, not the other. No, sit down. I've already guided you. I'm not here to interpret the Constitution. Yeah, so if you look at the proceedings of Parliament, they make a very sad reading. I've been on social media since morning, and members of the public readings, but to just look at how Parliament is being run, look at how the executive is being run, and look at the judiciary. So where is the government? Zach? Yeah.
So let's talk to your experience in Parliament this far, 2 years down the line.
Thank you very much. I think before I can answer that one,
Right.
I'm experiencing something that I've never experienced. The government is now using police state to intimidate people. The reason is very simple. They want to make sure that people, they should forget that UPND promised the Zambian people that one day Midme will be bought at 50 kwacha. That's their whole intention. What they want to do is to make sure that people should now concentrate on what is happening now without, questioning them that when are we going to start buying fertilizer at 250? When are we going to start buying fuel at 9 kwacha? You can recall that these are some of the things that the UPND promised to the Zambian people. And most of the Zambian people voted for UPND because of these promises. As you know that when you make a promise, that is an agreement that we are going to do this. So literally, government is trying to divert from what they are supposed to do. Today, Zach, dollar is at 22. How much did he promise that he's going to reduce dollar to? We were promised that dollar is going to trade between 9 and 10. Today is 22. So all these things, they are trying by all means to make sure that the Zambian people, they shouldn't focus on the promises that we were promised. And I'm sure the Zambian people are seeing. Just imagine, even when you are involved, I can't, I know Honourable Mwitwa once said that I'm the one who is causing confusion in PF. He confirmed. I think he will be sitting down. We need to report Honourable Mwitwa to police, because whatever he said, that's what is happening. Just imagine today when you go to Secretariat, the police officers are there providing security to a private property for the first time in Zambia. So whatever we're passing through is something that the UPND have planned. They want to weaken the strongest opposition party, which is PF. But what I can assure them is this party belongs to the people, the poor people. We know that this government doesn't care for the poor. It only cares for those, from the West. But we are aware that we won't take them lightly, and we are ready for this war. That's what I can say.
Now, Honourable Mundubile, let me bring you in with the fact that you understand the Patriotic Front Constitution, you understand the national constitution. But let's start with the Patriotic Front, with the fact that events have taken place. I mean, from the fact that events took place on the 24th of August, where the Mao's Sampa faction had a general conference, which you are referring to as a retreat. I'll stick to what you're saying. But what does the Constitution say and as far as the general conference or calling for a general conference is concerned?
Yes, I think one very important feature is who convenes the national conference.
Right.
The general conference is convened by the national chairman. In the absence of the national chairman, it's the president. So that's one very important feature. Secondly, the constitution of the PF prescribes the electoral college. So preceding the national conference, you have what is called the National Council. So the National Council has members of Central Committee. The National Council has council chairpersons, MPs, district chairmen, district secretaries. So in total, there's about 600 plus members of the National Council. And the quorum is half of that number.
Right.
So with 300 people coming as National Council, they receive a report from Central Committee. Central Committee presents a report with the names of the candidates, contesting for presidency.
Right.
So the reason why the National Council has to go through that list, they verify that these people that have applied for nomination are actually members of the PF and they're in good standing. So that is a very, very important vetting process that happens at the National Council. Then at the same time, according to the PF Constitution, the Central Committee can also propose one name that they are supporting out of the many names. Or they will decide to take all the names and select them compete fairly. So at the National Council, normally these are held back to back. After the National Council closes its business, it takes a break, and the General Conference now opens. National Council is chaired is also chaired by the chairman, national chairman. So, two things. The reason why you should just not receive a report from a retreat and call it a conference is that as part of the governance system, you have a registrar of societies as a regulator. So the registrar of societies has a copy of constitutions of every society under it, including the Patriotic Front. So when you go to registrar of societies and say I've elected Zakaria Banda as president, okay, registrar of societies has recourse to the constitution. What they are looking at is, okay, so there was a conference, not a retreat. They say yes, all right. Who convened that conference? It's a chairman. Because by that time they already have a list of office bearers. They will ensure that the chairperson appearing on their list is the same chairperson that convened. And the nature of these conferences are many times actually broadcast live for that reason, so that the public is put on notice that this is going on. Yeah, so to answer your question, the Constitution is very, very clear that even to belabor the point, to explain that what happened at Mulungushi was a retreat, because it's not very long since we had a convention of the Patriotic Front. And I think the members are all aware of the Electoral College and the various processes through which a conference is held. I'm sure, Zach, that you've seen reports from structures right across the country. Simple questions: how many members of the Central Committee were there? Who convened the meeting? How many MPs were there?
Yes.
What was the Electoral College? Who are those people that went to do that? Because then what it means, Zach, is that my cousin in Kaoma today can go to Kaoma Secondary School with 450 people, because they sold some produce. They got a bit of cash, and from there they will elect the president that every PF member must respect, because it means anybody can convene conference.
There's been questions that in 2014, for example, when you were choosing president to run for 2015 elections after the demise of President Sata, that in that case, was it at Mulungushi Rock of Authority? Yes.
That's right.
And it was an issue of electing a president by raising hands. It didn't show the order that you are describing to me in that particular incident. And then the people are saying, how different is this? How different is what Miles Sampa has done from what we saw in 2014?
Well, first of all, you should know that in 2014, Madam Inonge Wina was the chairperson of the Patriotic Front Party. She convened a national council in that meeting, that of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So meaning that you have this candidate. The next stage was to see whether this particular candidate will be validly nominated. So the show of hands must be understood.
Right.
What happens is that as a presidential candidate, you must demonstrate that you have 200 supporters behind you. 200 supporters to support your nomination. Okay. So the show of hands were the people that were now supporting the nomination of this presidential candidate. So after you count 200 people, it means that this single candidate is validly nominated. From there, if there were two, they were now going to go and cast the vote. Since he was alone, he simply went unopposed. So if you were to describe it in, there was no election, he simply went through unopposed. He was elected unopposed.
I get it.
Yes.
Let's now matters that concern you and the opposition, and must be one front. Now, so fast in the sense that the moment a letter was presented to the Speaker of the National Assembly that the Miles Sampa faction is choosing a it didn't take long. We had the announcement yesterday. And this, again, is just among those things that are moving so fast, because what is likely to be next, as people are anticipating, is that the Registrar of Society will equally probably announce that they have accepted and updated the list of the Patriotic Front executive.
Maybe before in,
right.
What it is as he stated earlier on, Article 74.2.
Right.
It gives us, that as members of parliament, we need to elect the leader of opposition. So what questions we have now is, where did that take place? Because for us to elect the leader of opposition, we elected him, Honourable Mundubile. I participated. And I never participated. So who elected him? So that's why, as members of parliament, those under PF, we can't recognize and will never recognize that there is any change, because we haven't effected change as members of parliament. So in simple terms, that is a drama. And that drama in parliament won't be tolerated. That's what I can assure you. Sure.
Honourable?
Yeah, there it is. And the members put it very clearly. Maybe to start with, you need to understand the roles of a leader of opposition. One of them is, to superintend over members of parliament in the opposition. Okay, maintain discipline within the members, and of course provide alternative policy to the sitting government.
Right.
So the reason why the constitution was couched like that was to ensure that for you to get the mandate to superintend over the MPs themselves must elect.
Yes.
Yeah. So when a name
they must have confidence in you.
Of course. Names in those names, they've got the power to announce the names, because it's within. Let's talk about organizing members of parliament from the opposition, elected by the members themselves. How will they do it? Academic. This is just an individual. with this title, but not discharging the function as required. Because as a leader of opposition, I sit down with the whips and say, okay, there's a debate on the floor that is coming. We are going to support it, or we're not going to support it. Okay, can we arrange the debates? Who's going to debate? Can we choose, 5 debaters, looking at their experiences, their backgrounds, and capabilities? All this happens in the background. Okay,
Right.
so that is the reason why, when you look at the members of parliament from the opposition, you will agree with me that they're on point on debates. It's not by chance. Okay, there's a lot of work that goes on in the background, and the leader of opposition, working with the whips, are doing that work. So what will happen now is that the leader of opposition that is recognized by parliament is unable to call these members because they don't recognize them. They will not follow.
Is that your stance now, and the rest of the
members of parliament are speaking for themselves?
We have
Is that your stance?
Yes, we have signed, and we have even petitioned the very speaker, and we have stated our side that as far as we are concerned, we have got a leader of opposition whom we elected, who is no other than Mundubile. The one which we have announced, I think that one is your leader of opposition in your office.
I'm
Not
assuming
yours.
that the sitting arrangement is due to be changed. But also, other than that, the fact that you are going to have a leader of opposition who the rest of the opposition members will not recognize, what does that mean to parliament?
That's anarchy. That's confusion, as it were. So like I told you earlier, Zach, this is sponsored confusion. All this is deliberate. Don't think that somebody is not designing all this. All this is deliberate. The UPND have now come to realize that the Zambian people are certainly looking for an alternative. The Zambian people want to look at a party that can having now.
Yeah.
So the only option the UPND has is to try and obliterate the opposition. But you see, the will of the people always stands. If you've been around the PF always comes out stronger. It's a part of the confidence and consolation. I think we've been through this before. Normally, even the time between 2021 and now, we've become stronger because of political persecution. You realize that we began to regroup because of the arbitrary arrests of our members. We began to go to court. We went to the police stations. Even now, I can tell you, whereas maybe we're going to bed at midnight, today I think I'll sleep because we are now interacting more. So we are going to emerge very strong because whichever way it goes, the will of the people will stand. The members of the Patriotic Front party will decide the fate of this party. Whatever else is happening is temporal, and we've told our people, forget about it. I could be sitting somewhere else, not recognized as leader of opposition, but I still have the control over the members of parliament because I am legitimately elected as a leader of opposition. So we are going to function whichever way that it goes. And so
are you ready to take the new sitting arrangement?
Why not?
That's accepting that you are no longer leader of opposition.
I gave you
parliament.
I gave you two scenarios.
Right.
We will not create a problem unnecessarily. Okay. A person recognized as leader of opposition is the one who has a difficult. I have no problem right now, because he has to sit next to somebody. Are you with me?
Right.
He will have to sit next to another member of parliament who doesn't recognize him. Okay. There will be somebody behind him who doesn't recognize him. You understand? Because he's a loner.
Which means it's not even safe.
For me, I can function as a leader of opposition. I can function as a leader of opposition from any seat.
Right.
It's the authority that I carry, not the position of the seat necessarily. Yeah.
Now, are you elevating your confidence in what you are saying, that the Patriotic Front is now going to be stronger on the fact that the former president is back into active politics and eager to serve the Patriotic Front?
No, I'm speaking from an informed background. And I've just given you an example of the journey that we've traveled. from 2021 up to now. And I think at every point you saw the party growing stronger. The past 2 months, clearly you realize that this is a party that is about to take over power. And that is the reason why a party that was called to be dead, is so alive that you need police at every corner to stop it, to be able to obstruct this political party. So I am very confident. The members know, we prepared their minds that it won't be and the UPND who go out of their way to try to frustrate this trajectory. And the members are aware. Yeah, so even as we travel through this, they know that this is, part of the plan of the UPND to try and frustrate us. But like I told you, in cases like this, the PF always emerges stronger.
You have on several occasions said that you are not surprised with events that are unfolding following the fact that the president has on several occasions stated or indeed warned the Patriotic Front. I think there was a time when he said he's aware that you are regrouping, all right, and he's aware that the fact that you are not being prosecuted, his government is weak, but definitely there will be Mingalato and all that. Are you making reference to such statements based on what we are witnessing now? Because you have strongly says all this is being piled on His Excellency the President.
Zach, if you're following his address in Parliament, he said, "If we don't prosecute you, we'll persecute you." That's what the president said.
Yes, I remember.
Exactly. Yeah. So when a president makes such a pronouncement on the floor of the House from a written speech, then you know that you're in trouble. But like I told you, what we are doing it for and on behalf of the Zambian people, for the sake of the people that elected us, the people that chose us, the people that we represent. So even when we are warned that we'll either be prosecuted or persecuted, we still have a duty. And that duty is to serve the Zambian people. We were in government before. We may have made mistakes, learned from those mistakes, and we've gone back to the Zambian people. We've gone back to the Zambian people to say, yes, there may have been one or two omissions, but on the other side of things, you were also able to see the positives. You saw the infrastructure development. You saw the policies in the agricultural sector, policies in the education sector, and many others. And the Zambians are now agreeing. Before this time, it was a bit difficult, Zach, because we had who were just promising, okay? And on the other hand, we were implementing. So if we built 2 roads, President Hakainde Hichilema could just say, when I come, I'll build 12 roads. So the comparison was that he would do 3, 4, 5 times better. But now that he's in government now, the people have been able to compare, and they've come to only one conclusion, that indeed the PF was the right path to consider the plight of the poor people most especially. If you look at Zambia, Zach, Zambia's population, the poverty levels are high. In the rural areas, it will range over 76%, even 80 in some cases now. So with the party, with the proper policy, our primary focus was, to craft policies that responded to the aspirations of the Zambian people. So the pro-poor policies are what the Zambian people to appreciate. And yet our friends in the opposition then, they went to the farm, give you 8, all right? And the farmers were persuaded, okay? So now, they're in government now. 1 bag of fertilizers being does. Why? Because you have a government in power that does not care about the poor people. Now look, Zach, I want you to understand this. The same government that has reduced the quantum of support to the agricultural sector, from 6 bags to Meda, is the same government that is able to give tax holidays to mines, resulting in losses of up to kwacha per year, all right, by making mineral tax deductible. And then you ask to say, okay, what does this mean? You are told to say, we are giving them these concessions so that in 10 years' time, they can ramp up production up to 3 million tons. And then you say, where are the commitments? What if they don't do that? There's no undertaking from their side. There's no form of sanction or punishment if they don't live up to. You act to your detriment to the extent of losing 3.2 billion kwacha per year. And yet your farmers, the poor farmers, you reduce their support from $6 to 1 meda. This is the same government. Remember? It's the same government. And yet there is no firm commitment from these miners. Yeah, so this is what the difference is. The difference is that we were in government and ensured that we put the poor people at the center. Zach, have you been to Chilubi, Zach?
No.
Back in the day, if you went to Chilubi, you see the quality of hospitals, 2 hospitals, one at the main, one at the island. If you look at the quality of hospitals at the schools on Chilubi Island, you'll be very surprised. Because President Sat had promised, like HH was promising, President Sat had promised the people to say, inenga nateka, na kuno kwine fipatala, fafinifia wakundole fonkaleta kuno. Ama skulu yela momona kukitwe, eonkaleta kuno. Kuno na mtakuwa ba moto kankapanga kumsevu. Na mtakuwa ba phone kabika communication tower. And that is exactly what we did. Okay? Why? Because the focus was on the poor people. The poor, those poor people are also Zambians. They're Zambian citizens. So if we go to Matipa in Chilubi and put up a tower, as I'm speaking on radio now, there's somebody who's catching me on Facebook in Matipa because they're also Zambians. And that's not coming by accident, Zach. It's coming because the Patriotic Front party that cares so much about the poor people made sure that this was made possible. Yeah, so it's a clear distinction. I was talking to somebody today, and you know that every year, the investors, the so-called investors, the businessmen, are the people who always celebrate the budget. Why? Because the corruption, the inbuilt corruption, favors them. I've said it on radio before, Zach, that corruption will not only involve the giving and receiving of bribes, but it involves taking on private interests over and above private interests. And it will come by way of policy, administration, and legislation. So even as you make laws, you can actually as an investor, so that tomorrow if you're taken to court, you say, but this is the law. Yeah, so in modern times, in modern constitutionalism, you are broadening the definition of corruption to also look at it coming through policy. Government comes up with a policy and even quotes the policy. But that particular policy of giving away 3.2 billion kwacha to these miners who are supposed to start increasing production. We are going to year 3 now. Who are supposed to start increasing production. Are you aware that production is going down now? Zach, are you aware?
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah. So if in 10 years' time, we are supposed to increase production, we are around 700,000 metric tons. Okay? The time we're giving away, we're giving these concessions, we're around 800,000 metric tons. We are now going down instead of going up. But remember, government already lost that money. Government should have collected that money. How else do you want to define corruption? Okay? And yet, the miners, the mining houses that receive these concessions, are they ever going to say this is a bad budget? Are you with me? Yeah. So, so when you're looking at government and their interests, whose interests are they saving? You know, the distinction between the PF government and the UPND government. Because I want to answer a question why we are confident that we're coming back. The Zambian people remember that, but PF wallet but PF would go out of their way. The UPND went out of their way and gave out 3.2 billion per year. I think we're going into year 3. We are over 10 billion. Government has gone out of its way based on a promissory note. But the PF government would go out of its way when it came to favoring the poor. That's the difference. This one, the current government will go out of their way to favor the rich. Okay? On a promissory note of ramping up production, you lose so much money every year. But in our case, we went out of our way to ensure that the Zambian people had fertilizers, the Zambian people had electricity, they had communication, they had schools and the rest of them. So you're able to distinguish between the two, the governments. And I'll quote from what one leader said. He said, well, you see, when leaders abandon public good, okay, and concern themselves with private interest, where, you know, the politics ceases to, because now promises are exchanged for votes so that people get the power. And once they get that power, they use that best describes the UPND.
Honourable, so before you come in, let me just remind our listeners, in case you've just tuned in, you're listening to the Burning Issue Thursday edition. My guests this morning is Honourable Brian Mundubile, Mporokoso Member of Parliament, and the Patriotic Front Member of the Central Committee. Also in studio is Honourable Lucas Simba, who is Member of Parliament for Nakonde, and we should be joined by Honourable Christopher Kangombe if he will make it, but he is on the list of our guests. He's Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, and of course, Patriotic Front National Youth Chairman. Now, yes, you may add to what you wanted to contribute.
Like I was saying, development in PF was seen, but development in UPND, we are just hearing. Whatever you ask, if it's in Parliament, you ask the minister, he will refer you to CDF. Everything, anything. You heard the leader of opposition here is talking about hospitals that has been built in Chilubi. How much is one hospital? You find that when you ask a question that we need the main hospital, they will tell you to use CDF. And this CDF is how much? You know, by paper, all the people in Zambia, they know that we have got CDF in our constituencies. And yet, we have just received less than a quarter of that amount. Where are we going? In Inakonde, we have received less than 7 million. And this is the fourth quarter. And again, CDF, from the amount of 28.3 to 30.2 now, next year, where are we going to get the money? What does that mean, Zaki? It means the of 2023, the implementations, the projects that were supposed to be done in 2023 won't be there. We are going to start implementations of CDF project for 2023 in 2024, which means we are behind a year. When you ask them about feeder roads, they'll tell you to go and use CDF. That, for your own information, they increased CDF to 28.3, and they have detected how to use that money. Why should we do that? They'll tell you to say, take 1 million, you buy a police vehicle. Even when the members, the owners of CDF who are the community, cannot agree with you, they'll tell you to say another 1 million, buy an ambulance. And this police vehicle is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Why didn't they just include that 1 million to the budget of the ministry, to the head of the Ministry of Home Affairs? Why did they just wanted to show Zambians that they have increased CDF, and yet they have detected how you should use that money? So we have been, taken for granted. You find that the money for projects out of that 28 million is just coming to 12 million. But why can't they just say we have increased CDF to 12 million than putting the amount to look so big so that it excites people, and yet inside detected what to do, which is very wrong. That's what I wanted to add on that.
Now, I want to bring you to the issue of the fact that the 60th president's benefits and privileges have been withdrawn by this government, by the mere fact that the president has chosen, the former president has opted to get back into active politics, which I still feel that obviously you needed to respond to me. Does this partly boost the confidence in the Patriotic Front that the 60th president is back in active politics? But what is your thought on this. The second question I have for you, Honorable, is that others are saying that the confusion in the Patriotic Front is not the making of the UPND as you allege, but simply karma at play, making reference to the fact that you orchestrated the confusion in MMD at the time when PF was in power. Similar incidences took place and so on. So basically others are saying it's karma at play.
Well, that's excuse. I think the starting point, you asked me about the withdrawal of the
yes.
president's benefits.
Right.
I was just describing to you the sort of a party or the policies of the party under the PF, which is a pro-poor party. President Lungu did just one thing. He realized, first of all, that the democracy in Zambia is being eroded every day. The democratic space is shrinking by the day, and the people are suffering by the day. Then he asks himself, I can sit here comfortably, government providing everything for me. But what about an average Zambian? What kind of leader, what sort of leader will I be? Should I remain selfish and enjoy all the benefits whilst the Zambian people are suffering? And he said no. So he said, let me go back, organize my party, ensure that we are on the right trajectory so that we can govern again and be able to look at the plight of the poor people, as it were. So this is the sort of the humble man that he is. He has shown the love for the Zambian people by sacrificing even that which should have naturally accrued to him. Yeah, so when you talk about
karma,
not really. I mean, people should not find excuses, really. I think the two events are totally different. If you look at what happened in MMD and what has happened now, these are totally mutually exclusive events. The UPND should, UPND are very good with propaganda. They come up with all sorts of terms and they run with it. I've said, Zach, that if there's one thing that I could give them credit for is propaganda. Yeah, but you see, one thing they didn't realize also is that you only use propaganda for a limited period. Because after some time, it catches up with you. You know, I can call you a thief, everybody else around you that you're a thief. But time will come when I may be proved wrong. Okay? So propaganda is on limits. So what has happened now? The UPND are now caught up in their own propaganda. But of course, they'll try. Whenever something happens, it's a sponsored program, they'll come up, no, this is karma, they did. No. The truth of the matter is that this is sponsored confusion. Secondly, like my colleague, Honest Lucas Mumba said, the Zambian people must be wary of the antics of the UPND. Look at where we were going with the prices of millennium. The country was overheating. It was reaching the boiling point. So they have to introduce something. Talked about millennium. Everybody's talking about the PF. Are you with me? Yeah, and this is how they've managed the country. You know, they use antics to try and divert people's attention. Whenever they think they are being caught up, they'll come up with arbitrary arrests. Somebody high profile is arrested. So when they realized that Zambians were getting irritated with so many arbitrary arrests, so now they've changed. They've changed the antics. They can go into another political party's camp and begin to disturb them so that for at least a week or two. My advice to them is that all these things can only, you need a practical solutions to resolve the many challenges the Zambians are going through. UPND, you lied to the farmers. I have got cousins who are farmers who came to me in 2021 and said, look, boy, fertilizer kapali 250. You still remain our brother, but I've got a cousin in Mundu. You know, they call me that Mundu. In Devotela wa UPND. Kabimwana, you know, your nieces of Lukuya Kuskulu, HH has promised that university, ikawa free education. You get my point? So you have all these categories. Nieces saying, "Ah, we uncle, but if tupela kwenchito, you know, I'm an engineer. Tupela kwenchito." So there are so many people who are disappointed. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Even from our own families, I mean, there are people who were honorable to come and say, "Nah, hakainde akabika fertilizer pali 250, hakainde akabika bunga pali 50 kwacha, hakainde akabika dollar pali 10 kwacha." So their focus now should be one. President Hakainde Hichilema can come here to radio and just apologize to the Zambian people. He can find the words to use, but effectively communicate that. Look, what I thought when I was outside with what I found inside government are totally different. So that the expectation gap is reduced. To manage people's expectations. The mistake they are making is that nobody is speaking to what they promised. Nobody's apologizing, you know, for the fake promises that they gave. All you are hearing from them is that we have done so much. We have performed exceedingly well. What we've done in 2 years is as if we've done it in 5 years. Then you ask them, what have you done? Yeah, so I think that's where we need to be. All this sponsored confusion and the rest of things that does not solve the problem, because yeah.
Let me honorable members, ask this very important question in anticipation. At the rate things are going, I foresee, first of all, let me say that I know that Miles Sampa has since hired an audit property and financials of the party. At the rate he is moving, I foresee a situation, the fact that he is also aware that it will be difficult for the leader of opposition, the new leader of opposition in parliament, to do the work. I foresee a situation where he's going to call for meetings for all parliament or MPs, all Patriotic Front MPs, to report for a meeting, and I know you will decline. But all these, you will try by all means, I know, as a united force, you will try by all means to reject, to obey Miles Sampa at all cost, and he may, at the rate things are going, decide to expel all of you.
Using what reason?
Well, he will write to the Speaker of the National Assembly that he is expelling, or probably he will do it one after the other, or all of you, for this you rebel MPs, and he may give you a chance to listen to him and obey him. If not, he will write to the Speaker and expel him, all of you. It's possible at the rate things are going.
Well, it's possible, but expelling a member is not, because the expulsion of a member is confirmed by the courts, and you must present valid reasons why you must expel a member. Imagine if it was that easy, where you just wake up in a bad mood and say,
it looks like it's
member,
easy. It looks like it's easy. I mean, it looks like it's easy to change a leader of opposition. So far, we are seeing things like it's just easy.
You could be right. Maybe you're just confirming what I said at the beginning.
Right.
But when you have a compromised court system, because remember, with all this, you can do all that, and when you go to the extent that you have also lost confidence in the court system, then I agree with you.
Because you have.
Oh, of course I have.
So it will be easy to expel all of you.
It can be that easy to the extent the system is compromised. But like I told you, Zach, the will of the Zambian people, the will of the members of the party, there are a number of things I would not want to say now,
right,
because, we are, of course, not just sitting and speaking on radio. We're a big political party. And it would be wrong to give an impression that we are now at the mercy of Miles Sampa. No, make no mistake. Make no mistake about it.
Things look so.
Make no mistake about it. Okay.
Let's move to the Registrar of Society, Honourable. This is the only place where we are all now focused to see what the Registrar of Society will eventually do about updating the list. What are your expectations? And knowing the fact that every political party do deposit a copy of the Constitution with the Registrar of Society, what do you think is happening, and what are your expectations with the Registrar of Society?
Well, the Registrar of Society has a copy of the PF
Constitution. Right.
She also has a list of the office bearers from the last convention.
Right.
Yeah. So she'll be able to check to know that the person who presided over the retreat is not the person appearing on the list. The registrar societies will also see that the electoral college prescribed under the constitution is not the electoral college that elected people that are purporting to have been elected at that retreat. Yeah. So for me, from where I sit, the fact that the constitution is sitting right in front of the registrar, we should not find it difficult to make a decision over any application that is made for change of office bearers.
Honourable Simumba.
Yes. I wanted also to comment on the benefits of the former president.
Right.
I think, in my view, the law has to be changed. Why? Because the benefits shouldn't be attached to any condition.
Right.
The reason why the former president is entitled to have those benefits is because he was the president. Okay? So we shouldn't attach any condition to these benefits, because when the reason why he's getting benefits is because he served as a Republican president, and whatever he does after, that is his business. We shouldn't attach any condition. I think this leader of opposition, we need also to amend this law, because there is no way you can attach something that somebody has worked for, condition to say, for you to give you this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. That's what I thought I can add.
Yes. Let me take this opportunity to welcome Honourable Christopher Kangombe, Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa and PF National Youth Chairperson and member, obviously, of the Central Committee of the Patriotic Front.
Awata tupuswike tulerwe nkondo nga mulelwa chifwai kwa limu mwala bako imwe milimo mwalanda. Let's sort out this problem and we'll discuss other issues.
How are you?
I'm doing very fine. I'm in high spirits.
Yesterday you looked very emotional.
I was very calm until I realized that I had a duty to remind we have a democracy to protect.
Just take us through what happened yesterday. We want to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Well, first of all, you are aware of events that have unfolded. Zambia chose to be governed by democratic processes. And obviously, Parliament also has parliamentary democracy. Now, parliamentary democracy entails that we follow the standing orders of Parliament. And obviously, for me as a member of Parliament, I utilized Standing Order 134. Order 134 is very clear. You have an issue as a member of Parliament that concerns the public. You are at liberty to raise that particular issue. So yesterday, I basically rose on Article 134 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. For the benefit of our listeners, standing orders are rules of Parliament. I'm sure Leader of Opposition and my dear colleague from Nakonde have explained what standing orders are. So yesterday when I rose to speak, I basically was building a preamble to my urgent matter of public importance. What was my urgent matter of public importance?
Yes.
The urgent matter of public importance is obviously the breach of the Republican Constitution. And you are aware that Article 60 of the Zambia Republican Constitution, Article 60, it provides for the rights and privileges and participation of members of a political party in that particular party. Meaning that if anything departs from the provisions of Article 60, now, if a country cannot recognize the provisions of the law, because if we are going to say, no, despite the constitution saying A, B, C, D, that we are constitution yalanda, if you la constitutional court, it simply means that the way we are seated today, we can commit an offense. It means where we are seated today, we can actually disregard the constitution and say, I'm the president of Zambia, I don't care, let the constitutional court go and determine. Basically, what happened yesterday was that I was raising a point, an urgent matter of public importance. provisions of Article 60 of the Republican Constitution, before I could even explain, because if an MP can't speak, I'm asking myself, what about an ordinary citizen? If a member of parliament who was salona abantu kukamfinsa nabantu nabeshwa lelo bakangombe balalanda pamulandu ifile kumechalo, and if an MP can speak consistently, I was prevented from speaking because I had a point. Nombande mona, the people that were preventing me from speaking, in particular, Madam Speaker, had a preconceived mind. She knew what I was going to say. I was going to raise a breach of the Republican Constitution. The Constitution of Zambia has been breached. They might be saying, no, this is about the Patriotic Front. No, PF is just an example. When a Constitution of Zambia has been breached, and you must be aware, Zach, that when I was elected together with my dear colleagues, we sought to protect the Constitution. So idenga namuno kutila olupapulo lwachalo tabale lukonka. Nsambusha abantu tabale shikonka. I have a duty as a member of parliament to raise that issue. So yesterday, to sum it up, I was prevented from raising an urgent matter of public importance.
Would you like to share?
Well, the urgent matter of public importance is what I've just summarized. Right. Article 60 of the Constitution has been breached. The rights and privileges of members of one political party have not been allowed to be exercised. I was raising that issue, and you see, an urgent matter, teba speaker abakwasuka. When an MP raises an urgent matter, you identify pariba minister. So I picked out Honourable Jack Mwimbu because he's the Minister of Home Affairs. Right. And under the Ministry of Home Affairs, you've got Zambia Police. Under Ministry of Home Affairs, you've got the Registrar of Societies. So lidelia shiridife mumino yabo. Nifilefia kutila tatualumbule Minister wa Agriculture telia chidiamataba tulelanda. This is an issue to do with the Emilimo Yaba Minister of Home Affairs. What duty has he got to protect the Constitution? Number one, is it possible on any market in Zambia, whether it's Sokode market, whether it's Mulenga market, retreat. Me having been raised as a Catholic, we used to have retreats before Tamula Poka in Kosho, kwaleba retreat. Retreat takwale sabaka pokola. Retreat kwale batinga mwakumana. Washima pepo baisa ba mirondo luela mule konke fia wina Christu. It was a private engagement. The retreat which took place at Mulungushi Conference Center, a retreat, it's showing that it is a retreat. How is it possible? How possible is it that a retreat, a private arrangement, can be over 200 police officers at an event? You need to ask yourself. So yesterday, I was going to ask the Minister of Home Affairs, who authorized over 200 police officers to go and provide police protection, or I don't know if it's police presence at a function for a retreat. Ichakudia retreat nikolo kwa kubana mwa kushetulukamo ushemili ile irenda shani ushenko kona wepika bwino a retreat. Now to have 200 police officers at a retreat and you elect a president from a retreat. So yesterday I wanted to raise these very, very important fundamental issues. Minister of Home Affairs, you are in charge of Zambia Police. Who authorized over 200 police officers to go and police a retreat? Number one. Secondly, I was going to ask the Minister of Justice. You are in charge of the Registrar of Societies. The Registrar of Societies cannot change office bearers without looking at the constitution of that political party. In Zambia, there is no law which governs how political parties will have their business submitted to Registrar of Societies. There's a vacuum in the law, and that vacuum cannot be exploited by one individual. The procedure is that the Registrar of Societies ngabapokelela amashinat abayeba office bearer. It's like the way we are seated. Now, if we organize the UPND conference, now if we need to a venue to say the president who UPND to namkuchinja machina, are they going to accept those names? It is not possible because they know that woman at the Registrar of Societies is aware that takwa kuchinja machina yama office bearer without looking at the constitution of that club. Patriotic Front is a club. Liashidi Yesu, liashidi ya mulupwa. Mulupwa mwali wa mafunde. Oh, mkwaipanga nda mwalafika 14 hours. Now after 14 hours, you have to explain. So how did registrar of societies receive amashina y'abantu abali ku retreat at aba entungulu shisha chilonganino ichilonganino chikwete 58 members of parliament ine bali nsala kukamfinsa amwe PF member of parliament abantu tabeshibye okutila kwali kusala kateka wanyu mu chilonganino. Then this, so basically yesterday, to summarize, Zach, I had an opportunity to raise a matter na abantu abatumini amafoni nangwa baratuma kuli ono mulabasa. They are interested in knowing what is happening in the biggest opposition political party. It's a matter of public importance. Whether you are PF or you are not, it's a matter of public importance. Yesterday, Vande Shokulanda, I was about to speak. Repeatedly, I was prevented. I said, wapafika nomba. Chava kwa tifunde tabale konka. We are going to protest because if no one spoke, today, Zach, you would not be hosting us today. If we did not speak yesterday for the democracy of our country, the people would not be aware that could you work your National Assembly? National Assembly is the legislature. Well, that we can't allow. We have a duty and we want to be on record. In defense of democracy.
I know that proceedings were briefly adjourned and obviously.
TV. Not church so much adjourned. Chamfika go polite. TV.
So finish were you eventually hounded out? Because security was called on you.
Exactly. The way we were raised, our flashback to push you sana never muchinji. Abana bakutila na bamayonga na beka la kukite balanda chawo mwana nali mukushe bwino. But you see bali twebere na mukutu kushati kumikusha bwino te kutila mufule mwa abacha mwenso ngamwamona pomona afiru bana. When you notice that ifunde lya chalo tabale likonka, there we have to voice out. Yesterday we voiced out. They switched off transmission. Instructions were given, don't transmit this, but the world was able to see because parliament is monitored by all members of SADC, by all members of the UN, by all members of the Interparliamentary Union. Zambia yaba affiliated to, we are able to see that Muzambia muri ubuafia. And if people can't see the problem, I don't know where our democracy is going. This is not about the Patriotic Front.
So the clerk of the National Assembly has since written. Yes, and this is obviously in line with the fact that members of parliament misconducted themselves, which are yourselves, when they prevented unlawful ejection. Well, I'm reading this from a different angle, but this is what you called.
Yes.
All right. It's in quote unquote that you called it unlawful ejection.
Yes.
So you prevented a member of parliament from being ejected, that is Honourable Christopher Kangombe, and for participating in the protest. So obviously we understand that MPs are yet to face disciplinary action and you face charges of breach of parliamentary privileges and contempt of the House.
Yes.
Are you ready for that?
Well, I'll summarize because I know my colleagues may need to pick it up. Now, Mwishiba limo life kufule kwa wabali abali ready to sacrifice.
Yes, for others.
Because Milo, had we sat quiet, the Speaker of the National Assembly has got 2 letters on her desk. Inkalata shidishibide chwa kweti. Na bakwate inkalata yaba Rafael Nakachinda ba Secretary General ba Chilongalino, cha PF. Na bakwata ne inkalata ya ulo mulumendo ati Mugani Ngona. Bushe, Speaker fewa kutila lishibo mchinshi wefunde. How does she pick 1 letter? Inkalata shonse, yesu ilelanda tifuta tuwa chinja leader of opposition ngechipani. Article 74 ya lupapulo ya lilande for leader of opposition basala. Wangona basala leader of opposition. Nenkalata ya isa ku parliament. Na ifo ba Secretary General wesu, bale mbenkalata, saying we have not changed office bearers for leader of opposition. How does the Speaker of the National Assembly decide to read only 1 letter? Ekweli ya shimailo ya leya. Bali shibe pali ati awa lumendo Kangombe ngala musumini shoku puishe ediash. Na inewe ni mumula nduna ala vamo. Epo fionse fiale puila basi. In case the people are not aware. Mailo muko mfana, I want to indicate what will happen tomorrow. Bale tufuiko mulandu wa kutila tuwali ushe chimfulunganya. Tabakala nde pafyo bato bere fundi.
Yes.
So they are going to suspend us. I'll tell you for a fact. me, I'll be suspended with my other colleagues. No, mama, suspension ya kutila, bale tutinya, chitamwakala fola, ushaba baka tupoko mweo. Tutina fyo okufa, tefyo fi, fwe bantu tutina okufa. Kabatinya pakutila, bese balombi obwelo bwa musango shani. Apechi lipo cha kutila efunde bali toba. So yesterday, eko chale ya bali muna. That is how come we protested. I just wanted you to know that Ayakonkapo is suspension. And for me as a member of parliament, ready to defend democracy, mukwaina batupokeka la tuikadila. Ushetwa itala la pwensa la tukaya alomba isha. Twalikuwa taba nenso wakalanda tuwo impera kwa kasaka kavunga kenya kavunga oko balundile.
Let me take phone calls. All right, because obviously we need to allow the listeners also to participate in this particular program. Let me state that our guest this morning is Honourable Brian Mundubile, Mporokoso Member of Parliament and Patriotic Front Member of the Central Committee. He's accompanied by Honourable Lucas Simba, Member of Parliament for Nakonde constituency, and of course I have with me Honourable Christopher Kangombe, who is Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, and he is also the PF National Youth Chair. Now let's take this call. Good morning and welcome to the program. Hello, good morning.
Thank you very much. This is Andrew. We are hosting a very nice program. Good morning, Leader of Opposition, Honourable Brian Mundubile.
Morning, Andrew. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Honourable, youthful, vibrant leader, Christopher Kangombe. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Lucas.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yeah, I think as a citizen, and I think as a patriotic citizen of this country, I'm very, very saddened with what is happening in this country, where the ruling government is willingly raping the constitution, raping our democracy. Ours is a constitutional democracy. We chose the constitutional democracy, and it's very sad that we've got, leaders in government who are scared. They're so scared because they are failed to deliver to the expectation of the government, and now they want to use crooked means to sustain their staying power. That will not happen. It will not happen. This country is a constitutional democracy, and we're not going to allow happen and these people to rape this constitution. Look, when you look at the PF, constitution, it is very clear how an extraordinary conference is called and the like. And for me, I know there are people saying, no, you have delayed toward this conference. No, you have not delayed. You just lost an election in 2021, and it's a process. And I want to believe that the first item you did was to do a postmortem. You needed to understand what made you lose power. Okay, that was the first step. Postmortem, obviously, in trying to respect what the Republican Constitution states in Article 62D, and I quote, a political party shall promote and practice democracy through regular, free, and fair elections. The second stage that the Patriotic Front wanted to do was to go for a constitution amendment, because trust me, if a conference was called there, people like Mao Simba would not participate. It doesn't qualify under the current safe constitution. People like Dr. Simba, he wouldn't qualify under the current constitution. So first of all, you needed to undertake the postmortem, you needed to undertake the constitution amendment, and then also the structural audit. I think there are some structures, their mandate has expired and all that. So you don't just rush to do things, Mr. Zag. So leader of opposition, you have the mandate. You have the mandate to protect the constitution. You have the mandate to preserve peace in this country. And you should never, ever allow an individual, a selfish individual, to rape the constitution. That will not happen in this country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Andrew, for your contribution. Let me take another one. Good morning.
Good morning.
Zaki, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Your name and where you calling us from?
This is senior citizen, Fanwa Mangala.
Fanwa Mangala, please.
From Chululu here in Lusaka.
Please go ahead.
The Honourable, good morning.
Citizen.
Thank you. What is happening in our country, for me, I will tell you, that was expected. With the coming of the UPN in power, with the Hakainde, this was expected. Because I followed his utterances in the opposition, was full of bitterness, full of hate, and so on. When you govern a country on basis of vengeance, these are the results. Affairs of this country on hatred, on bitterness. So a lot has to come. But the question I have for you is, surely, are you going to allow this country to allow him to do what he's doing now? I think you should not fight alone. This is not the fight for the PF. This is not the fight for the opposition. This is a fight for Zambians now. Because he's trying to take away from us in 1991. He can't do that. So
Thank you. Thank
some
you.
people
Yeah.
think that maybe you are afraid of doing certain things, but this is what happens in other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Let me take another one. Good morning.
Good morning, Zach.
Mkwai twashubuka. Madam Mumbipiri.
Mumbipiri kuno kuchongwe bakangombe mwashibukeni.
Mkwai natubuka fyaba mtende notoro na chilala fe winu.
Mkwai awe mwana wandi following in your mother's footsteps. Ngubaka ekubika padianga nguni suspension, you are doing a very good job. Democracy can't be curtailed in parliament. And maybe let me declare interest. Mary Moti, she's my sister-in-law. And from what I know, the person who is supposed to guide her and give her proper rules which she's supposed to follow is the clerk of the National Assembly. In all of parliament, the speaker and let Amusa Mwanamwangwa. May his soul rest in peace. And he was being guided by the Doris Mwinga. We never saw what we are seeing. No, but I don't know if it's because, Ned Muti, she's my sister-in-law. My cousin, Dr. Chewelu, Professor Luo, was married to her cousin, the Captain Muti, who is late. And they grew up in the same house. That clerk of the National Assembly is married to the Muti's young sister, biological young sister, who is a cousin to the speaker. Maybe that's why Valesi Wokubatela proper guidelines. Why have I said so? Already the speaker that embarrassed through the courts. The ruling she made over the members of parliament, their petitions in court, she chased them. They only came back after the court ruled against what she did. The second one is the ruling on his birthday because of the speaker's ruling. Balubinda's case, he has won it in the courts of law that what the speaker did was not right. And now I'm wondering, because the endorsement of Chawinga as leader of opposition in the House, Miles Sampa hasn't even challenged his expulsion from parliament. So I'm asking myself, where is this coming from? Secondly, we know that the registrar of society hasn't changed the Patriotic Front office bearers. Barikana. And that woman has integrity. And you know, Bakangombe, we are shining, not what I I'm enjoying here because a woman in Mongu court under Chau Zulu, Nikeno Kumuchita corrupt, Bamuchitana offer a diplomatic job, Akana, Alande Chinka, Radamayo Chinka. So far, that's what the registrar of society, who is a woman, is doing. We are waiting for the ruling from the court of November. So where has all this which Madam Speaker Which constitution is she using? And I'm glad today as we speak, I've seen something that the German president who is visiting Zambia has talked to the leader of the opposition, who is Brian Mundubile, and the deputy whip, who is Stephen Campion. Why hasn't the president from Germany recognized Chawinga? In the end, as I conclude, Tule Isevanya as a country called Zambia. And if we are not careful, we are creating another Mabutu Sese Seko Azambaga Mwanamboka. They left from Congo. Zambians, let's rise to the occasion together with our members of parliament, and kudos to the civil society, led by Patriotic Front. Me, I'm glad Patriotic, they were speaking on behalf of UPNG. Father Chikoi, some of them are even mistaking him for a Catholic priest. That one is a reverend from Anglican. Now, UPNG, that's the way it's supposed to be. Is the Commission on Human Rights is speaking against what is happening, which is breaking of our constitution and breaking of rule and law. Lola Niti, she's a commission of human rights being paid, given by the UPNG, but she has stood out for what is right. So,
thank you.
Zambia, let's unite.
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you very
Bye.
much for your contribution. Let me take one more call. Good morning, and then I can let you respond. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Zach.
How are you today?
I'm fine. This is Mulenga, the voice of Lapula.
Yes, Mulenga.
Twatotera ba Mundubile na Mposhamkwai na ba Mundubile na ba Nakonde MP. Taba kampisa bonte.
Twatotera bane.
Democracy. Na tumfomulela nderi ashiriya kwe bati bakainde ikidema bakitirizayi. Ero amakadde azibale kuma abantu nga bafuma kuna konde nasenda raisi omuntu kwisasuka mu lusaka kisaka limu okuyikisha ne 150 okulifunya patraki ukona kwena kopa beuti omuntu afumile ku lwapula asuka mu kisokoni ati isaka limu okuyikisha 100 kwachi tamwabereko baisi ewati bakiterizanyi kwale fwana abantu mupiwefu abantu abafuire nibanga abantu abo mwapumine mumanyanikane mu by election nibanga niro pashinga twamwe tamwa kitire design iningala tomu politics emushaba nisime nangu ku football na politics kimo chi even nga twamwe school sesifure nan history yabankumbula naba keke kali ningala topalya MDU kweba tifurungani nimwaba mwayifurungeni bapie mwala ba kweba ti Bible yala ndati ukasombo pavile mwala ba imo at least na mausampa kwali ama ballot paper bale vote kati mu 2014 mwa initiative y'amaboko bapenda tibajigalungu n'abawunya ali kana mausampa toti bangu ine mikuyibiri bakirezimani bawa malero ero bawa malero base bafaza chikoya nabo bambi kati mu PF mu mwale bashauta amakirezimani balanje ko finish na mushauta nabatukwa n'amakaddazi mwalizi lero mwamone kati muli bakuche lero kentu ba PF nga mwali kwata ko Fenson yapanga mwali kala ko FZ because sironje mwachama Zambia ni kingi sana singe mwachita baka inde muri batotera no kubatotera balesho okuma amakati
batotele babwesho omutengo wabunga babwesho omutengo wabunga babwesho bulapula bebe ni babwesho bunga babwesho bulapula babwesho bulapula bebe ni babwesho bunga bebe ni babwesho amafuta bebe ni babwesho amafuta
Thank you. Let me protect my caller. Let me protect my caller first and foremost. So, Mulenga, conclude. Please conclude.
ukufuma mu unity ubunga tapali wabwe sharp.
Endesho ni bamulenga mkwae.
In conclusion,
Mkwae. Let him finish. Right. Let me do this. Let me take. Let me have your response as to what we have so far received. Yes, you can start, Honourable Mundubile.
Okay, just to maybe quickly respond, Kuliba Mulenga, voice of Luapula. Mulenga, if we've been very clear, our position has been very clear on the position of cadres. We have made it clear even in our post-mortem, that yes, if you are fairly wrong and, corrective measures. Sean Tembo said something that was very important. Kada ngalimu station, nangumu market, efyo, nangwaisa bunkalwe, even news act, you've got an opportunity to defend yourself against such a kada. Na kupolisi kutuwa mtuala. Nomba kada ngaisa na fuala inform ya waka pokola. Ewa mbo kutubenganda yobe. Are you with me? Ba voice of Lapola mumfikishe efyo. If you let chitika, Sean Tembo, who is a non-person, o mwingete fe ku police pafoni aitwala mwatu benganda muleto benganda bakubale tamba bale munakwati palifistike. That's what's happening now. And you see the UPND want to focus on just the cadarism that happened then. Look at the barbaric acts if it's taken number. I bought into that argument where Sean Tembo says kadanga ali mu uniform mule umfa police you can't do anything. You get my point. You can actually protect yourself, but not against a cadre who to come and harass you. That's what's happening today. So a voice of Luapula is talking. He may think it was bad then, but I hope he's in an environment where he can compare. The cadreism that is going on now is actually very bad. Okay, so democracy ne mingala tutafendelana amlenga. Let's differentiate the two. Mwelamu parliament tukonga constitution nga mwasenda constitution mwaposa mwifungu era nomba mambo kulabo mfemingala to that you can't govern a country like that. So bakateka kanshinga nimwe muleba koselesho kutilati bapose constitution mwifungu bale bomfemingala tumuleba lufya bamulenga mfweni. As I speak to you now, check the newspaper headlines. Even the Americans who were not talking, the American ambassador is now talking. The CSOs are talking. The churches are talking. So mwisaka mana bamulengo kutila no ba church mwaleba the church now is talking. Church lamo ba isho kushipana ba le support UPND ba church but we cannot go this way. So I hope Bamulenga will be assisted.
Now, before the other members come in, I mean, I think Madam Mbipiri mentioned the fact that the German president met you and Honourable Kampiongo. I mean, are you able to confirm that?
Yes, sir. We had a meeting this morning with the German president.
This morning?
This morning, yes.
And were your parliamentary issues tackled in that meeting? What was the meeting about? If you can share, if you are free to share, please do.
Well, of course, the appointment came 2 weeks ago. German has got a very strong system insofar as the opposition is concerned.
Right.
So for them, it's one of their policies. When the president is visiting, they also visit the opposition and political leaders. This was communicated even to the authorities locally. So it's not like it was a meeting that was not disclosed.
Mm. Yeah, does that mean that obviously he knew that there was this meeting and he needed to obviously follow events in this country?
Of course, we had over an hour meeting where we discussed a number of governance issues, the concerns that we have. The way the embassies work. It's not like they're oblivious to what is obtaining on the ground. Most of the things we're telling him are things that he already knows. Yeah, so like I said, I think I would like to confirm we had a very fruitful meeting with the German president this morning.
Mm. Maybe other members can respond to the callers.
I think let me just take on the same issue, the caller, Mr. Mulenga.
Yes.
Zaki, what you should know is the reason why there is no much physical violence is because PF has accepted that the president of this country is a church. And the reason why there was that bit physical violence, it was because the UPND never recognized ECL as the Republican president. So now, us as their children, the children of ECL, you are there seated, somebody is not respecting your father. That's where all these things were coming from. So for now, you can't see anything like this because us who have accepted. There is nothing like there should be any physical violence. So that's why we are coming from. The reason why there was that, you find that abantu but this one is not the president. And then if that's where you saw that a bit of reaction. That's what I can say.
Honourable Kangonde.
I'm aware that muno Zambia twalikwata civil society organizations, twalikwata NGOs, twalikwata churches. Leader of opposition has indicated, the headline in one of the tabloids today, the American embassy has said, UPND, you are playing with people's rights. You are tampering with the rights and privileges of citizens. Literally every file, go to any embassy. You are the guys in the media. Go to any embassy in Zambia, of the countries that have got presence in Zambia. Ask them, what is your assessment of the democratic space? Muchalo cha Zambia, bushefunde lyakuchingilila abantu insamushabo, the rights of citizens. Do you feel that there's anything that has changed? They will tell you that there's a degradation of the rights of citizens. Insamushabantu takuli. And you see, we can't speak, it is imaginary. So bamlenga na bambya bachu tumama phone calls. This is not about the Patriotic Front. Ngatualambo could discuss HPANICHA PF, it will not resolve the problems affecting the people today. Abantu Muzambia na bakwate fintofu bale yirishanya. One of them is that insambusha kulanda takuli. You speak today, if you alishuka tu alikwata kone full of yabu member of parliament, walanda, chibipile fenomana mu parliament, bale for watupoke nsambu. But what I'm trying to say is that if citizens the last 2 years have been gagged, Zach, let me ask you a simple question. Has any political party held a political rally in the last 2.5 years of the UPND? Tapala po echilonga nino chale mbenka lata ba Socialist Party balombo kutila tulefo kuya kumanya abantu pachanga na mai po ba UPND ifo munchita shesu bale kwate nsambu shakulanda na abantu. They have not been allowed. We wrote a letter that we want to have a rally in Zingalume. Balando kutila takuli bakapokola so your rally kube. Bule choru chero pasata de we found the police officers. Awe naba watu wera tabaliko. Suddenly we had police officers. Ichimpapuishe is the efficiency with which they are protecting one individual in the name of Mao Sampa. Na abamupela bakapokola kumatero kukanyama nga mulefu akapokolesa amyafo kukubwafya mukwete. It is not possible. Bakapokola bonse bali kunani kani. Bali ku parliament bali chingirira Mao Sampa. Na ku airport. Ili sa Mozambia imwe bantu ba Mozambia. Let's be serious as a country. When did opposition political party leaders have police presence? Wakapokola fiabe ingi 200. Kuya ku airport mailo. Kwali wakapokola 200 mailo. Ukupokela fe Mao Sampa.
Nga legitimacy nchiri
kwa ipusha ifo timwe bantu bakwalesa. Ero lekeri mwe FHT ba UPND ama MP bale ilishanya. Bale ilishanya okutila bushe ululu pia bale pela Mao Sampa. Nga ifo nishita bantu pela pakutila na ifo tu hafu wako kutungirira chilongaliro chireteka because clearly there is money involved. Clearly, if you confusion, it is important that the people are aware.
Let me take some more calls on 0955-221515. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Bueno Bwanji ni mandani.
Mkamba na mami Kalenga.
Honourable Kalenga.
Kalenga muri Bwanji.
Awe taukabwino njala cyo baketera abantu ba New Dawn. Ndabona kile kanje chakuti abantu bali kuvutika muziko muno mlandu wa this New Dawn government which came in power with lives. Eba nali mu position ejo kamba ati bantonga kwanza kugula ngapa 120 wa dola nina kabwela ngani 50 kwacha fertilizer 250 fuel 17 kwacha ya dola na kabwela za cheaper. After ba win about the demand that the brethren between the promise ati some budget ya people in the budget yatu. Tewa namba budget yabo response ba dola watu wakakambe kwa tia bale ngeta nyaba valengesanya pamene mwendo kamba chiendekezani chipange budget yatu mugula 120 pamchikali budget ya PF lero futi malunda tie valengesanya pamjira kwanza maona ka so cheti kama nchakuti aba new don walepera kurani na ziko ino ichamene muona ati balipali point from opposition wafuna kuvitingiriza kuletera kwao kurani na ziko ino maona ama confusion mali ni PF ni balu piendi bani baleta wanakamba president ati they want to start the branding we will come strongly on you which is wrong he mentioned and the futi bana ngakamba iyai this comment tete for confusion PF lelo bakana maona ka abakamba ati ba PF bezaleta ma confusion muri ba MMD itameni makana ile mjira brand manga ati ba PF ba MMD tona ma confusion tinaona ma election na 20 three quarters na bamtatu pamoja bana campaign na ba HH ba nenda bana campaign na veka why pana campaign na ba PF na vitau sinje bana sema confusion mmoja maona ka so hajana na confusion ni yabo cha ndio tunaone ba PF kupeleka na serikali ku nyumba ya neba kumumba ku nyumba ya mtati kapena ku serikali ya kuna libe bonso dija but abachela kuna mikono za PF so that baunenge PF maona ka chazo na nchakuti so ndani bantu kipitani zintu so that wantu akondwele ngati mzaona kuti ndau zonse muna mizaia ikulikonjo ku Ukraine iya ma government zonse nacho kapu kunali mankondo tunanepo mkondo ku Iraq na Americans muri ba manawasa wao ungarepo wachipa maona so aba ni materials wakamba cha hivi muri wa PF ungarepo pa 50 kwacha kapena pa 40 kwacha manja pa wajula chamene tizo nitaka kuti wa PF na bila mpawa wanapaba ongeza masara kama workers more than double ikitamani tunaleta impact ku bantu even although nitengezabo ya kwela sinaoneka basi hapa mtue time vintuanza wa dua time 3 masara nyameza jeba nisa ba PF bantu wakapumke branch ni wale tera ba materials kwa kwambi.
Thank you very much. Let me see if I can take another one quickly. Good morning.
Brother Zaki, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm very fine, my lovely brother. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful. Brother Namanda in Kampumba.
Brother Namanda in Kampumba, welcome and please go ahead.
Honourable, good morning.
Good morning, Brother Namanda.
You know, when my MPs, you have to know that democracy di kalungu. Lela ndapali bashoni tembo. Isa chike kunganda kuli ba HH ni finch. Kula baire mukunya na ma finch ifya chike kuli. Undola kuli HH afumine pa mutinchi ifya chike. Ba Mundubile. I'm speaking, you know, you guys sometimes I tend to wonder. You have to be very sincere. That's why people of Zambia can never trust you anymore. Because you hide in a hide of a lion. You know, what is happening in PF today? Maribu ya kuilombela. Chaku ifaida mwevene. Imokurwa kwenu na bamao sampa. Mulefu anomba kumoneke kwa chikurwa kwa chalo. It's more like it's in the country. This war is between you and Mao Sampa. Mundubile, you paid the 200 kwacha, if not mistaken. Mao Sampa paid the 200 kwacha. You said you are going to a general conference. Why didn't you go to the general conference? You pretended stealing money from the poor people, from the poor MPs, pretending that you'll be going to the general conference. And at the end of the day, you never went. And Mao Sampa today is demanding for that 200 kwacha. So who has caused that problem? It is Edgar Lungu who was hiding in the name of retirement when he knew that he is still active in politics. So if you don't say, and if you are going to continue talking about UPND, crying about UPND, PF and it will never resurrect. PF is dead and buried. You were once suspended by the very PF for standing on the truth. We have not forgotten. Sure, Iva Mundubile. Edgar Lungu what the wisdom PF. Why Edgar Lungu ran his race? He was the president. He did everything. Leloni shitetia support eba Mundubile kuti babe ba president. Nabo bapikirishe pale balungu ba perere. Balungu bene bakwetefya mano beka. Ungaba mutotwe kafwaya balipi benate kibasuba tungirire kipani cha PF kuba bakateka ukuve ntungurushi ya PF kanofye balungu ngaba sata bena kabakishire benate yakishe kanofyeka ine kuti nate mwalero mutoto kafayo aba president wa PF nangu ba Mundubile nangu ba Simba, not Edgar Lungu. So Edgar Lungu we pay PF because that man is greedy. That man is selfish. If he wasn't selfish, he was supposed to support Mundubile. He was supposed to support Kangombe. But because of greediness, because bukandire bukaitemwe mwareuma abantu nga wachuso so wayapwiro muliro pankasa ba journalist aba nabo baba zaki mware basundira mukanwa mwafura na maye pafrite mupale muleti na tulaza ewero mubwere muse muranja PF chabana fish mwaloberi yauma tamwa lungu takatale bwera ku PF is on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
I can respond to.
You want to respond there? Yes, please.
Okay, I think the Comrade Namanda has narrowed the debate clearly. He's carried away with PF. Of course, I don't blame him. PF is a big party. It actually occupies the minds of many, including President Hakainde Hichilema. Now, Vanamanda, what we are talking about is democracy, okay, predominantly. Today, Father Chikoya is in the paper. Osida is in the paper. The American embassy is in the paper. So in case you have some issues, you can for now not worry about what they are saying. But can you respond to what Father Chikoya is saying, what Osida is saying, Vashima Pepo, the CSOs and the rest? So you can't ignore what everybody else is saying. What is wrong is wrong. In English, we say, my brother Namanda, two wrongs never make a right. If PF made a mistake back then, does not entitle the UPND to also make a mistake. After all, the PF were punished for their wrongs because the people voted against them. So you cannot now begin to advance the same argument to Gutira. And I just thought I could, first of all, answer Banamanda because he had narrowed the debate from what we are discussing.
That's fine. Bakangombe, you mentioned your name.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Ichawama Pafyo Balanda Banamanda, the last caller. Our duty after we lost that election was to do a post-mortem. We did our part. That is how come the process of allowing new ideas in the party came about. Gefiala Ndile, I think Bawinta Kabimba yesterday was on TV. He indicated that you can't compare what is important in life is that let's not reduce to Chefi Elidia Shitulela and Shanyapo on the issue of the Patriotic Front. Our politicians to survive. We know how we represent our people. But the issue is not the platform that Christopher Kangombe will use. The issue is not the platform as Mumbabala Womfiat, Pakafe PF. That is not the issue. It really took a for Kubumbi to Isakunukumulabasa, took a PF program. Got to get some and Devia Patriotic Front. Lerom to Ediashi, Ulipansa Bushavan to the same rights which Vanamanda has to enjoy. The rights which have to be enjoyed through representatives. Because democracy, Pachpanda, apari abantu 15 umwe number. The point that we are making is that if parliamentary democracy can be affected, insambusha ba MP parliament takuri, insambusha shabantu abali mu fupani takuri, and the people are speaking. It's not us who are speaking. Our duty today is to come and remind our people that and let me advise my colleagues in UPND. An effective opposition will make you perform your duties. Opposition, you are a very lucky ruling party. Because 2026, you would have managed to attend to the problems affecting the people. An opposition political party that can't identify challenges affecting the people, it becomes very difficult for the ruling party to perform. Whether we lost power or not, insambuna tukwate shakulanda chawe kwena mumi monekere ya fintu insambusha abantu shashire chepa. We have a duty to point out those issues, and it is up to the ruling party to say hawe if yabantu muzambe tabafwaya if yabanenso efyalengere baluse na fobene tu alaya munshila imoine, and that is our duty today. So whether we are reminded of the challenges of 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I think that the business of today are the public concerns. The American embassy who supported the UPND, let us be honest, the American embassy, balifukumwinyo olupya bayingisha mu kirunganiro kireetwa UPND pakukiteeke. They played a part for UPND to be in government today. Basanga okutira aba bantu twayingishe mu olupya nsambusha abantu tabale shikonka. That is what the American embassy is saying. To appear a fair example of one government, the superpower called America, basanga okutira papitefyo mulungumo if you are chikatafyawa if we don't speak out. The American government has spoken. Other countries have spoken. CSOs have spoken. Na balora miti na balanda okutira takwaba abantu bale n'obwala balanda ati bali ifo fe bale n'obwala omwala bakateeka wachalo. That is not possible. You can't choose a president of a political party because what is going to happen, Zach, very quickly. Vanamanda, just to help you, I know you've raised issues, but just to help you understand the problem. With what happened at Mulungushi, are you aware, Zach, that na effort to organize abantu abali 30, 50, twalanda okutila, pali imwe omwala wa president wa UPND. Mairwaka twalele nkalata ku Register of Society. Zaka hela ndati, ukutwa kumene mkwai, kateka wa UPND otusalile nyoyo. Wakainde wakasumina. Bakalanda okutila, awe, ifunde lya UPND tefyo lya landa. Because a political party is a club. A club must have rules. Vanamande fyo mwachilanda nafupusana. We want you to wekera ni kumutoweliashi. Umutoweliashi uli wakutila. State agencies, if longa nino fya buteko, bale fibomfya to encourage an illegality. Should we sit quiet? Should we pretend that bantu ba itwali lushiyama election mu 2021 nga twalanda balanda tawe mwetu alimufunyapo awe ine bali nsala ku conference a member of parliament abantu bale fokumfa bushe ili ashiri democracy nsambusha abantu tulendela pesa, and that is why we are here today.
We should be concluding now, gentlemen, but let's start with Honourable Mundubile. I mean, your concluding remarks as we close.
Yes, in concluding, I would refer to the submission made by Andrew. He was the first caller.
Right.
The processes within the PF. And I think what he referred to was that we've not been idle. You know, there's been this narrative. From the time that we lost power, there was a committee appointed to do a postmortem, to went around the country. From there, several meetings of Central Committee have been held. And I'm sure you know that in the recent past, we actually went up to the extent of approving a constitutional amendment by Central Committee. So this is a process that involved all members countrywide. The dates that were given for conference clashed with some very big event, or Umutomboko, with another centenary celebration in Eastern Province.
Right.
The date that was given for a conference clashed with President Sata's a memorial. So clearly we were almost there. We're coming to that. Just to answer the responses. In any case, we were not tied as a party. You know, if maybe some of these things were done earlier, we may not have been imaged as united as we are now. So a political party within itself sets its own agenda. So it's not so much about what others are now saying, yo, why did you delay? It's not a reason why an illegality should be entertained. If a conference was delayed, it's not a reason why a retreat with 250 people or 300-400 people reported as 3,000 should now elect a president, like Honourable Kangombe has said. Yeah, so there's no justification whatsoever. And I thought that Fano Mwangala, a senior citizen, also made a very serious and important submission. He asked us a question. He says, are we going to allow that? And I want to assure the senior citizen that what is now beginning to be exciting, the Zambian people are very democratic. When you begin to depart from democratic tenets, there comes a time when they draw a line. What I'm seeing now is that the Zambians and civil society have drawn a line and they're now beginning to speak. So what we expect is some increased voices within the democratic space. It will not be easy because of police presence everywhere. I'll tell you, Zach, that Honourable Kafo and I last week, we wanted to address the media in the usual style on a Sunday, you know, just to talk about what had transpired. For some reason or the other, we decided not to and waited until a Central Committee meeting. We were later called by the manager at Fatmos that 3 police vehicles went there with armed police to go and disrupt our press briefing. Yeah, so this is where we are, Zach. So even as the people are making this contribution, that we're in a very, very difficult situation. Like Honourable Kangombe had said, sometimes we're fortunate because we have our media interactions at Parliament. That's the only, immunity that we have. So we are operating under a very, very difficult environment. And I think hours now away from individual political parties, we have to stand together as Zambians. Ka tuloleshe pamutende w'abantu, tuloleshe palupapulo lwa kyalo, n'okumona okuti amayisalire democracy n'amayilandire amayendele yalaya mu constitution mu lupapulo lwa kyalo eyapeelwa kube na Zambia. Ingumamfo ba America bayima bati bakayinde tefe mwalelanda efiyo tefe twasuminishenye elo mwalelanda mwale mfika bwino sana mwalelanda bwi ifo twayishibya tikanshi ifimulelanda kutwabika monaka something nombaga something chimokwatika kulukira fe tefe mule chitefe mwalelanda iyo so kanshi ebwafi bakwete ba America twale for enhanced democracy balaba ninsofu ba Razak bera ngumule mfwana nangule bafako mu musango muno ubie kufya democracy fintafo kutwala kwa masange human rights balabala koneka epala mu mwene kuti nabaletira awe ba church batile muneni ekena umbya teke ko munene wa 23 years nombapa bafika bati akwena nangu twale kulandirako mune awe fyo wale susani fyo lechita kwati fyaivela yapa mwene kuti kwala bo bwafya lelo ichikankala mwebekala chalo cha kutira nero tule ililo bulanda katwime apaswe kano kumuno kuti twambo okulanda ngentungulushi pakuti bakateka limbi benefo babapanga bomfwanga balanda abantu abengi nga mwalanda mwebali 1000 limbi tete bomfwe kanshi nga mwaingira muna bambi nde muna limbi kuti fyafika kumatu yabo mkwayena totela
mkwai
thank you very much. I think Speaker Nerimut, she's a lawyer. I don't know if really her conscience is clear now for her to even announce another leader of opposition to say we have received instructions from a certain political party, which is very wrong. I think it's not too late. She can always listen to that decision that she has made, because what we know and what we voted and the person we elected is our able leader of opposition, who is Mundubile. We won't, and I repeat, we won't recognize anyone else who is coming in the name of a leader of opposition in the House. That's what I can say.
Well, my concluding remarks. When I was growing up in Indeke in Kitwe, twaishibyo kutila bakaunda bali tuluilako. Batuluila bafyashibes with Kolwe, we got independent. Zambia became independent. Over the years, we've had UNIP, we've had MMD, we've had PF, and now we have UPND in government. Aba ishuko bakwete ba UPND. Ishuko edikalambero li ishuko edikalamba. To have so many other political parties to have led government. The easiest thing ichinga bango kila kwikala fe pension okuyipusha. Ushefilonga lino fyakuru mefya tekere podi mwisa fyale rufyanya. So that tabale weke sharp wecha tupapusha. Chakutila aba tabale belenga fila baranda mutusungu at history ya Zambia. Zambians have a limit. Bala kwata palepo besa mkulanda that if you kwene fi if mule chitata filondolo wiki. We can come here today, speak the way we've spoken. It's up to them. They will say, we feel land about PF, bakangombe nichoni ba PF ochubalela ndilef. Maybe like Honourable Mundubile has said, maybe there are other voices they want to hear from. But the reality, kumfwafe na abantu konsoko tulepita na abantu balelanda. Balelanda okutila awe. Insa mshabantu shamoneka shachepa. Abantu na wabeka lila pansambu. And UPND has a duty as a political party in government to change misango, but change the works of all wings of government just to fix a political party. If we talk about politician in Chilanda, we will survive. We will find a way to alisho for to survive. Mukombo ni to alisho for to London abantu. So abantu alisho kutila. To alikwata kale MP Mporokoso. To alikwata kuna konde. So abantu bali tuishwa kale. But the question that we have to ask ourselves: will democracy survive? Yeah. Because you see, politicians know how to survive.
ine nga bansuspenda mairo ndebwekera kundeke nga bamukombonya abantu bakalanga n'okwanga itungulushi Yesu yabwera naye bakangombe n'ababwera n'abantu batemwa fyafire tusunga abantu twana paredio n'akakulya twapeka mwamona ife twalikwata kile kimupashi kyakupela kalake niyo kwete wakanyako abantu mwali obwali abantu babalero mpe tungulushi ayipisakamanya ababa nensi kwena baba n'obwafya tukesa mukulondolo obwafya bakwata ife twaliangukirwa. Okay, so we will survive as politicians, but the question is, will our democracy survive? Yes. Because democracy has to survive. Me, I'm 38 years old today. They must come and find a democracy that is working. This is not about one political party. So nachilafwaya vayavalelanda okutila iyo imwe va PF tamukwete ensambu yakwisa mukulanda efi mulelanda pantu mwalishireko efi lubonefi mukwaituresumina we made mistakes. But is that the benchmark for leadership? Are we saying that if the point we are making is that the right thing has to be done for our democracy to survive?
Thank you very much. Nimbonabu sibi omobuchilium.
Twakutumana fya palongo twamona mamona. Twakutumana wasanga bali kuderela. Bali kuderela.
Nifirenkala Miranda ichipemba chiranda zake. Wa monenkala munailala.
I know, gentlemen, it's an happy battle that you have. I can only wish you all the best as you get it right into a deep end of it. But thank you very much for coming. I'm very honored that all three of you came, and it was a pleasure to obviously have this discourse. I can only wish you all the best once again.
Thank you very much.
Great. And so to you, all our listeners, thank you very much. That's what we had today in our Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. We'll certainly be back next week at the same time with another edition. And I'm grateful to all partner radio stations that carried this particular program live. And that's Tuta FM, Muchinga Radio, Spice FM, 5FM itself, indeed, and of course, Wave FM. So we will be back next week. And from